And what are you doing now?
Not a whole lot, you know. I'm retired, and I do a little volunteer stuff here and there, but not enough to be significant, play golf and stuff like that. And I'm not really active politically. I was active in the Granholm campaign. I supported her both times and held fundraisers and those type of things. I've done it for John Dingell, who I worked very hard for in the campaign, and in the primary when Lynn Rivers ran. I worked very hard for John, recognizing his value to Michigan, and we have a relationship that went all the way back to 1970. So, very close relationship. So, other than that, that's about it. My wife Dee Dee and I have a nice spot way out in the country, and we love it out there, and spend most of the time right there.
Okay, and the as you look at the legislature and so on, you're saying you would say to a young person, this is a place to be, take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. But you're also saying there are some changes that are really disquieting in terms of term limits. Or, what else is going on there that you look at and say, boy, I wish I were back there now?
Well, I think right now, Lynn, is a great opportunity for the right kind of people to make a difference. And when we were there, you know, the auto industry was up and down, but it was never any thought in our mind that was going anywhere. It was going to be there, you know. I mean, even with 12% unemployment, and you knew eventually GM and Ford and Chrysler would be back, and people would be back to work. And when the economy turned around, Michigan would be the first one that would be the bellwether. All of a sudden, you notice things would turn around in Michigan. That was an indicator the whole economy was beginning to turn because people started buying autos again. That isn't the case today, and so the challenges in Michigan are probably the greatest it's been in my lifetime since I've been here. And it's a great opportunity. It's an opportunity for the right kind of leadership, the right kind of people to put the policies in place that will move Michigan forward and get it off of the dependence of the auto industry and restructure society. It's also an opportunity to make sure that the policymakers don't destroy the very things that has historically made Michigan one of the best places to live, and that's our infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And I think it's extremely important that the legislature be effective and be productive, and that it's extremely important that we have strong executive leadership, because you know, this is the way society is today. If you notice the recent liquidity problems in the banking industry, everything is so instant. It's global. It happens in seconds. I mean, you can go from 1 week and all of a sudden nobody can borrow a dime. The whole credit markets are frozen and all commercial paper's tied up. That's the way society is today. And how the leadership, the political leadership adapts to that, and how they take Michigan into that structure is going to determine for probably our grandkids and all this what kind of lifestyle they're going to have, what kind of standard of living they're going to have. Mm-hmm. And the worst thing that can happen in Michigan is if they dismantle the infrastructure that we presently have. And I see a lot of that happening already in the fee structures at our universities where people can't afford to go there. And none of the kids staying here that are graduating from Michigan and Michigan State, they're going to Chicago or California or some other place. We got to keep our young people here. We got to convince them this is a place to be in the future. And in order to do that, you have to have effective government leadership. You have to have an effective legislature, an effective governor. And that's the critical component right now. And it's a great challenge. It will happen, and I have a lot of confidence in people. I would love to see one of my kids run. Evan has talked about it. Maybe he'll run. And if he wins, fine, he'll be one of those people that can make those kind of changes that are necessary.
Well, you're right. It is an exciting time if people will step up to it. That's for sure.
Well, I think, you know, I don't know which one comes first, that adversity builds character, or character comes out of adversity. I don't know how it works, but I know this, that it'd be a great time to be back in the legislature if they had an effective legislature. It's not effective now. The term limits have made it basically, it's not a body that can respond to Michigan's needs. It needs to be changed awful fast. I don't think they can wait much longer. They've got to get an efficient legislative process in Lansing, and they need to do it by stretching the term limits out. I mean, if they need term limits, fine, 16 years or 14 years or some reasonable time like that. If that would solve that those people out there who seems to think that their whole philosophy is that anybody there is a bad person. I don't know if you can ever deal with that, but the process certainly is not effective now, and I hear that from people in it and people outside of it.
Pete Fletcher was your constituent all the time that you were in the legislature, and he was also a leader in the Republican Party in the state and nationally. What kind of a working relationship did you have?
We started out, when I first went to Lansing, I never felt that Pete was overly fond of my opponent, and I got that impression from him a couple times. I'd had conversations from him. I'm sure he didn't vote for me, but so I went to him and I said,
You say you're sure he didn't vote for you?
No, I'm positive he didn't vote for me, but he didn't like my opponent as well. He didn't think he was the best person in the world to represent. So I went to him and I said, look, you can either fight with me or we can work together, because I think at this time he was on the head of the State Highway Commission, and Ypsi is, we haven't really gotten a whole lot from Lansing through the years. It hasn't been very effectively represented up there. And this is an opportunity that we can do a lot of stuff for our community. And we can either work together or we can work adversarially. And we established a very, very good working relationship. We replaced about every bridge in Ypsi, every road in Ypsi, and we did all the highway work for the new U of M hospital, worked together on that. He would help me with Milliken when we were pushing building the U of M hospital, which was probably one of the best investments the state's ever made. It's turned out to be a fantastic revenue generator, grants coming in, the life science thing. It's just a great thing. But Fletcher, Pete was very, very close to Milliken, very, very close. And then even after Milliken left there, he was still a very effective person in the Republican Party and the National Committee. And we were able to get an awful lot done for his community. I remember one time he and Billy Huffman were having just a war, and I set up a luncheon for them to sit down and work out their differences, and they became good friends. But he was still always a Republican, always an adversary, and willing to debate. Very articulate person. Yes. Where I have absolutely butchered the Queen's English, he mastered it. And there's probably not a more articulate human being alive when he wants to be. In fact, he can be, I don't know what the word for, what's the word when you use the wrong words? You use the words that no one can understand.
Malaprop.
Is that what it's called?
Is malaprop.
Yeah, that's what he would be in many instances. But he's a great guy.
Thank you very much, Speaker Owen. I appreciate you taking the time with us.